I don't care what the recipe is. Not again. I was not about to let you guys torture me and dangle a recipe in front of my face for months to the point where I can't go on any social media or even any tasty video without seeing you all spamming my name and a Timpano Part 2. That is why we are here today, so I can knock it out of your little brains and just get it over with before it even begins. If you have been lucky enough to not have witnessed this abomination yet, it is what Tasty is calling a 4-layer pie. It's got garlic knots and spinach artichoke dip and Oreos, and it's just too much. It actually reminds me more of that barbecue chicken pizza quesadilla thing I made a few months ago, in that it made the rounds on Twitter. I do not feel bad calling this an abomination because I refuse to believe that whoever made this took this seriously. Even on the recipe page, it says at the very end, "Don't add us, just dig in," and only 17% of people gave this a like, so there you go. It's always the ridiculous, unrealistic recipes that take me the longest and give me the most frustration. So with that being said, let's get right into this one. If you were unfortunately dropped as a child and you want to make this for yourself, start with some pizza dough comprising of all-purpose flour, olive oil, active dry yeast, some sugar, some kosher salt, and some warm water. I'm starting with the pizza dough for obvious reasons, not because it has to rise forever, but it does get better the longer it sits. Plus, I figured I would just knock it out of the way the night before I even started this mess. This is the dough recipe from Tasty's Perfect Pizza. I've made this a bunch of times, including for sandwich bread. This recipe has never failed me. I say that this will probably be its toughest test yet, because no ingredient or recipe was ever conjured up with the thought that they'd be included in something like this. The following day was when the real work was gonna start, each and every single individual layer. Starting with our pasta, I grabbed some dried penne and some mozzarella cheese, ricotta cheese and some marinara sauce, pepperoni, an egg, and some fresh Parmesan from our good old friend, the Parmesan cheese wheel. I'll admit that no individual component of this is super difficult or time-consuming, but when combined all together, yes, you have a very long, headache-inducing recipe. This layer was as simple as grating my Parmesan and mozzarella, boiling up my pasta, and then pretty much throwing it all together in the same pot. Since, presumably, we won't be constructing this for another 6 hours, I threw that in the fridge while I worked on the second layer. This is the first layer that we need some of our pizza dough. We're gonna make the garlic knots, so I grabbed about 21 ounces of the dough, as well as some olive oil, red pepper flakes, Italian seasoning, and kosher salt, garlic powder, our dough, and some fresh parsley. You know that joke when something is like really gross or just dumb, and the person says, "I just want to talk to whoever came up with this"? That's the epitome of this situation right now. I'm dying to know who came up with this, who okayed this. It's just blowing my mind in every facet. It also kind of sucks that we're making all these delicious food items, like fresh homemade garlic knots, and you can't just cook them and eat them normally. They have to be shoved into this disaster. This part was very easy. You just mix your fresh parsley with all your dried spices, your olive oil, and then eventually tie cute little knots into your dough and mix it all together. That went into the fridge while I grabbed everything I needed for the third component of this, the spinach and artichoke dip. For that I grabbed some spinach and mozzarella cheese, some artichoke hearts and sour cream, olive oil, more Parmesan, some red pepper flakes, some garlic, and of course, we have this mess to deal with today. You know, I don't want to deal with you. On any other day, maybe I could have tolerated doing some funny skit and going out and mutilating it. I just can't. I'm confined to my house right now, you know, there's only so many things you can do. You're gonna wanna pat your cream cheese dry before popping it open and cutting it into some smaller cubes, because that has to be melted down with our sour cream and butter and all the other good stuff. I don't think I've ever made a spinach and artichoke dip in real life or for video purposes, This is another tasty recipe though, so it should work. The only big difference was that the spinach they used was already frozen, so it was kind of easier for them to thaw it and then measure it. Mine was fresh, which cooks really quick anyway, so doesn't make too much of a difference. Honestly, this does look and smell pretty good. There's a lot of other things in there, so maybe it won't taste too terrible. After all that, it must be time to assemble all of our layers and then just bake it off, right? Wrong! We have to make some sugar cookies with some sugar and baking soda, some flour and butter, an egg, some vanilla extract, baking powder, and some rainbow sprinkles. As I was cooking all this, I literally forgot about this too. I was almost ready to grab my Dutch oven and start throwing everything in there, and something stopped me, and I realized I hadn't even touched the dessert portion of this. It wasn't too bad. This recipe comes together pretty easy with a stand mixer. Just make sure you add in plenty of rainbow sprinkles at the end. I'll leave the recipe for this down in the description if you are curious to go check it out. But besides that, we have to gather all the other in-between ingredients that haven't gone into anything yet, including some more cheese and pepperoni, some more Parmesan and our Oreo cookies, parsley, butter, garlic, and the remainder of our pizza dough. Off camera, I did some rough calculations in my head to make sure I would have enough dough for everything I needed here, and I was pretty much on point. I needed 2 6-inch rounds for these tiny little pizza discs that are gonna cut off each meal from each other, you know, the appetizer, entree, dessert. And then with the remainder of this dough, I have to hope that I can get it at least 30 inches, because that is the circumference of the interior of my pot. Are there any other math nerds out there? Math was definitely my favorite subject in school. I don't know why I loved it so much, but it's been a while since I visited the 2 pi r formula for a circle. See kids, not everything that you learn in school is completely useless, just like 92% of it. If any parents are watching, I'm sorry, that was a joke. Now, it is finally time to pile in everything that we have made today, starting with our garlic knots and some mozzarella cheese. Was there a reason for these to go in first, before the pizza crust? I don't know, maybe they forgot. But after that, we have to lay in our huge sheet of pizza dough. Almost too huge. I ended up chopping quite a bit of dough out of the center of this because it just would not have cooked. Come behind all that with your spinach dip and try to smooth it out the best that you can. Topping that with your first disc to cut off the appetizers from everything else. Plop in your entree, your cheesy pasta and pepperoni. This is kind of like a combination between like a baked ziti and some weird like manicotti or something, I don't even know. I already get the feeling that the ratio of dough to everything else is gonna be way off, because sometimes recipes like this, that can happen, but it will remain to be seen because we have to finish it up with our sugar cookie dough, as well as a layer of Oreos. This is just yet another reminder of the career path that I chose versus like everything else normal in the world. Bake that off at 400 degrees for 45 to 50 minutes, and then laugh at me struggling trying to remove this from the pot. Oh no. You kidding me? Oh, shit. Oh, no. What the hell is this? It is certainly not pretty, but it is out. I don't know if it would have been pretty regardless, but I got myself a piece, so now let's try it. Usually between that last clip that you see and the taste test, I try to spruce it up a little bit, try to make it look pretty. There was no helping this. What are you gonna do? Early indications are that most of this dough is raw. I guess we can go down the line and eat it how it was intended to be eaten. Mmm, garlic knots. The sad part is I very much like every one of these components on their own. When they're mashed in and try to get some spinach artichoke dip and there's sprinkles on it, I don't want to eat it anymore. The sprinkles have penetrated every single layer. You cannot get a piece of pasta without them. That's the realization that I'm facing. That would be really good. It would be delicious on its own. And how about some dessert for the last course? Listen, props to whoever was creative enough to think of this and then got Tasty to approve the publishing of it. I do think it was probably more so made for like a potential viral video like that pizzadilla I made. They know nobody's gonna make this, except the idiot you're looking at right now. In conclusion, don't make this. Do not waste your time or the ingredients. Things are too precious at the moment to throw together this trash can and then call it a meal. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave me a big old like. If you don't already follow me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, those links are down in the description. Have an amazing weekend. Stay safe out there. Look out for each other, and I will see you right back here next time. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.
If you were unfortunately dropped as a child and you want to make this for yourself, you're... Is this allowed? I don't know.